Have you ever wondered how politicians in Kenya make big promises to their people, form coalitions, and share power after elections? Well, today we are diving deep into a powerful agreement that changed the future of Kenya, the Kenya Kwanza Agreement. We will be revealing some juicy secrets hidden in this agreement, and by the end of this video, you will see how it directly impacts you. If you're curious, stick around and let's keep it rolling. Let me break this down super simply. Before the 2022 Kenyan general elections, three friends who are party leaders of different political parties decided to team up for a big project called the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. But why did they do so? For one simple reason. They wanted to win an important election and they knew if they worked together, they would have a better chance of winning. The three men formed a coalition called the Kenya Kwanza Alliance, as shown under Article 1 of the agreement. The agreement was like a super secret plan where they divided the big job of running the country in shares. Each party leader got a piece of the power pie, and trust me, it wasn't a small pie. We are talking about huge responsibilities affecting the state of Kenya as a nation. The three main parties in this agreement as seen in Article 3 were United Democratic Alliance led by Dr. William Ruto, who would eventually become the president. Amani National Congress led by Mr. Musalia Mudavadi, and Ford-Kenya led by Mr. Moses Wetang'ula. The signing of this agreement dated 5th April 2022 was witnessed by other big names in the Kenyan political spheres, who made sure everything was written down and signed. Like in every big deal, you need witnesses. Remember, never go into signing an agreement without there being witnesses. In this instance, the witnesses were Ms. Veronica Maina, UDA Secretary General, Mr. Simon Gikuri, ANC's Secretary General, and Mr. Chrysanthemum Swamalo, Ford-Kenya's Secretary General. In the deal, as seen under Article 21, UDA being the biggest party, got the chance to nominate Dr. William Ruto for president and Mr. Rigathi Gachagua for deputy president. The other two parties, being ANC and Ford-Kenya, offered to support UDA's candidates and help them win the election. In return, they were to get some very important roles in the government. Musalia Mudavadi's party, ANC, was promised the role of Prime Cabinet Secretary, while Moses Wetang'ula's party, Ford-Kenya, was to get the position of the Speaker of the National Assembly. An offer was made, the same accepted, and a consideration of jobs was given, making the contract legally binding as per the terms of the agreement and the law. The power sharing puzzle didn't stop there. ANC and Ford were also offered 30% of shares of the positions in the national government, including cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, ambassadors, high commissioners, head of diplomatic missions, chairpersons of state corporations, directors of state corporations, and chairpersons, and other commissioners. But it didn't stop there. This deal was also about sharing of resources and projects across the country. Western Kenya, which is a stronghold of ANC and Ford-Kenya, was to be accorded special treatment. On top of the other projects which were implemented within the normal and ordinary course of development planning of the government of Kenya, President Ruto's government was to prioritize the completion of all existing, incomplete, or stalled bitumen road projects within the safe strongholds. Construction of a cumulative 1,000 kilometers of new bitumen roads, allocation of nationally raised revenue for the revival and modernization of Mumias Sugar Factory, Zoya Sugar Factory, as well as other sugar factories. The establishment of manufacturing, fisheries, agro-processing, or housing projects as may be resolved by the leaders upon attending a party leaders forum, among other things. Now, while this was a good deal for the Western Kenya, it left out other parts of the country that weren't part of this deal. If your county wasn't included because your leaders didn't make the deal, you know where you stand. It may feel unfair, but it is the situation on the ground. This is what happens when leaders focus on benefiting their areas alone. Others are left in the dust. For the rest of Kenyans who did not have a voice at the table, what happens today? Although these agreements are good for tribalistic politicians, this is where the real problem begins. Other regions stand to miss out on important projects funding, and development, as politicians start thinking only about their tribes and strongholds. And that's where things get messy. It's all about the numbers. The areas with larger populations get more benefits, while smaller regions continue to suffer. This is a vicious cycle that leaves many people struggling and languishing in poverty. Unfortunately, this is to be expected until 2027. Why? This is because the agreement expires right before the 2027 elections. Now, if the leaders decide to extend it past the 2027 general election, we are in for a whole new ballgame. If you were to get real for a second, such agreements show the real reflection of Kenyans and how they live. Politicians serving the nation only think about themselves, their friends, and those from their tribes. This agreement shows how tribalism has sneaked into politics and prevented Kenya from growing as one united nation. It's like going to a birthday party where only a few kids get the cake while the rest watch. And that is exactly what happens when leaders make deals like this. Some areas get everything while others get nothing. At the end of the day, this agreement gives us a peek into how power is shared behind closed doors in Kenya. It shows us how leaders often prioritize themselves and their tribes, leaving many Kenyans feeling forgotten. But here's the good news. You have the power to change this by staying informed and holding leaders accountable. This is the time to ask questions, speak out, and make sure that the leaders work for everyone, not just a select few. If you enjoyed the breakdown of the Kenya Kwanza Agreement, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends as we roll out the next agreement between Kenya Kwanza Alliance and the Pamoja African Alliance Party in our next video.